Hello, and welcome to this video about how to deal with a selfish husband without feeling drained or constantly fighting. So, for anybody that's new here, my name is Laura Amador, and I'm a Laura Doyle certified relationship coach and intimacy skills expert. So, when it comes to creating a loving, peaceful, and connected marriage, how you respond to your husband's behavior has the power to alter the tone and dynamics in your relationship. That is not to say ever that everything's your fault or anything like that. It is to say, though, that you might have a lot more power than you think. So that might sound surprising, especially if you feel like you've been doing everything to make the relationship work, only to feel overlooked, unappreciated, or even invisible in your marriage. And it's frustrating when the man that you once adored now seems self absorbed, emotionally distant, or indifferent to your needs. And you might wonder, does he even care about me anymore? Or why do I always seem to come last? Or how much do I have to give before he finally sees me? I see you and I hear you, and I want to gently invite you to step into a new way of thinking, one that will bring you more peace, more joy, and ultimately more love in your marriage. So let's talk about how you can create a marriage where you feel cherished without fighting, resentment, or exhaustion. So, first, this one might feel like a little bit of whiplash going from one feeling to the next, but I want to address something really important here. Something that I know for me, I've had wrong for a really long time. And so many of the women that I speak to later tell me that they can relate. When you're feeling exhausted, unappreciated, or like you're carrying the weight of the whole relationship alone, it's completely understandable to believe that your husband is totally selfish, right? After all, if he cared, wouldn't he naturally step in to help? It's like that saying that people say a lot these days, that if he wanted to, he would, right? Wouldn't he show more interest in your feelings? But before we settle into the belief that he's horrible and selfish, I want to invite you to pause for just a moment because I'm sure that you wouldn't have married a man like that to begin with, right? So, what if there's another explanation, one that might open the door to healing instead of pain and resentment? So, the first thing I want to talk about here is, could he be wired differently? Men and women often express love and responsibility in different ways. Maybe he's not ignoring your needs, but rather expressing care in a way that you don't realize or recognize. While you long for more emotional connection, he may think he's showing love by working hard every day or fixing things around the house or simply being present. Number two is, could he be feeling unappreciated too? Sometimes when we feel unseen, it's easy to assume that our husband has stopped caring. But what if he's feeling the same way? A man who feels criticized or like a failure, like he can't measure up, might pull away. And not necessarily out of selfishness, but out of self-preservation, which is such a human thing to do. What if his selfishness is actually a protective shield because he doesn't feel successful in his life or in his marriage? Could he just not know what you need? Is the third one I want to cover today. As women, we often give freely and assume love works the same way for our husband. We give so much. But many men don't instinctively know what we need unless we share it clearly, simply, and without frustration. And there's so many women that I know, and myself included, that say, I've tried that. I've tried telling him that I need him to take me out on date nights or step up at the house or step up with the kids or whatever it is, right? And I will say that when it comes, in my experience, when it has come from a place of frustration or even anger at that point, because the resentment and years of he never does it, I have to be like his mom and I have to tell him, then it lands more as a command and kind of a criticism than really like a team play, right? An invitation for him to be the hero is very, very different than a demand or a command, right? And then if he doesn't step up, it may not be because he doesn't want to. It may be because he genuinely doesn't know how. It may also be that he feels criticized, judged, or controlled, and he might not feel inspired to step up. And I'm going to get into more on how to change this coming up because this is really important. That's the difference between getting the help and support and emotional connection that you need versus not getting it. So we'll get into that more of that in just a second. But the fourth thing is, could this be a story that's keeping you stuck? So if you've been feeling disappointed for a really long time, your brain might have built a story about your husband. He is selfish. He doesn't care. I'm in this alone. But what if that story actually isn't the full picture? What if he does care, but in ways that you haven't been able to read or haven't picked up on? What if you've been looking through a lens of hurt and missing the love that is actually there? So instead of asking, why is he so selfish? I want to invite you for just a moment to try asking, what if he does care just in a way I haven't seen yet? This one question can spark a new perspective, one that leads to hope, curiosity, and connection instead of exhaustion and resentment. Because here's the truth. Most husbands and people in general, and that's not to say there aren't selfish people, but again, I'm going off the assumption that you would have married someone that you admired and respected in the beginning, right? That you chose your husband for a reason. So most of these husbands aren't intentionally selfish. Most of them love their wives and want them to be happy. But when communication breaks down, when expectations aren't met, or both spouses feel unseen, it can start looking like selfishness, even when it's really just two people who don't know how to reach each other. When you soften your belief about him, you regain your power. You shift from feeling drained to feeling hopeful. And that change alone can set something new in motion. So let's get into the practical steps that you can take to go from a selfish husband to feeling cherished in your relationship again. Resentment is a sign to honor yourself. Many wives spend years bending over backward, making endless sacrifices, and doing everything possible to keep the family running, to keep the household running, to please their husbands, to be a good wife and a good mom and all the things, right? Only to feel drained and unappreciated. When we give from a place of obligation rather than joy, resentment builds, and resentment is exhausting. And this is a trap that so many people fall into. And again, it's not one that is intentional, right? It's just life takes over and it can happen. So think about the last time that you felt deeply resentful towards your husband. Maybe it was when you cooked dinner after a long day and he didn't even say thank you. Or you juggled the kids, the house, and everything in between while he sat scrolling on his phone. Or you wanted to talk about your day, but he gave you one word answers and turned back to the TV. Ouch. Each time this happens, your frustration grows. But if you really look deeper, the resentment isn't just about him, it's about the fact that you keep showing up for everyone else, but not yourself. I want to tell you about a quick story about a woman named Lisa. She came to me feeling completely depleted and said, I do everything. I cook, I clean, I take care of the kids, and he just comes home and relaxes. It's like he doesn't even notice me or everything I do. She was exhausted and bitter and feeling like she had nothing left to give. As we talked, I asked Lisa a simple question. What do you do to take care of yourself? And she blinked and said, didn't you just hear me? I don't have time for that. I barely have time to breathe. And there it was. Lisa was giving to her husband and to everything and everything else from a place of self-neglect. She wasn't filling her own cup, and she was waiting for him to notice and do it for her. But here's the thing, when you don't honor yourself, it's unlikely that anyone else will either. We teach people how to treat us. So instead of focusing on how to get him to change, the first step is to start treating yourself with the love and care that you deserve. So I want you to ask yourself, What brings me joy? What makes me feel alive? What do I need to feel nurtured and cared for? And then start prioritizing those things without waiting for his permission or approval or anything like that. This is all about you. This is what you are worthy of and what you deserve. So this could mean going for a walk and enjoying the fresh air, taking a long bath and actually relaxing instead of rushing through it, saying no to extra responsibilities that drain you, letting yourself rest when you need to, catching up with some friends that you haven't seen in a while, or maybe going shopping or just walking through, I don't know, a cute store that you love and getting a nice coffee. Whatever it is for you, take the time to write down 20 things that truly spark joy within you and then start doing those things. The more that you honor yourself, the more others will honor you too, including your husband. The second thing is that you can do to change and shift this is empowered communication. That is speaking from desire instead of expectation. Once you begin to honor yourself, the way you communicate with your husband will shift as well. Many wives unknowingly fall into patterns of control communication, which I absolutely have been guilty of myself. And this is reminding, correcting, or even demanding that their husband show up in a certain way. It could sound like, why don't you ever help me around here? Or you never take time for me, or we never spend time together, or you should know what I need by now. It's completely understandable to feel this way. But here's the problem. When men, and I'm not just talking men, but people in general, right? This is human nature type thing. When we feel controlled, people shut down. They either get defensive, withdraw, or do the opposite of what you're asking for just to prove they have autonomy and that they won't be controlled, right? So, how do you get what you want without pushing him away? That is by dropping expectations and expressing pure desires. Pure desires are the secret to inspiring generosity. A pure desire is a heartfelt expression of what you truly want without the expectation, pressure, or manipulation. It sounds like this. I'd love help getting the house ready for our guests. I'd love to have dinner out this evening. I'd love to see a movie. I'd love coffee from that cafe and bookstore down the street. Whatever it is for you, I would love, and then you fill in the blank. So do you notice the difference? A desire is inspiring. It's an invitation, not a demand. And here's the magic. When a man feels free to give, he gives even more. When he's not feeling pressured, he wants to make you happy. He wants to please you, especially when he knows exactly how he can do it. He wants to see you smile because that's what makes him feel successful as a husband, as a man. Though when he feels like he's being told what to do, and again, this isn't just men, it's kind of people in general, we we resist, right? Have you ever felt controlled by someone? Doesn't it feel insulting and painful, actually? Pure desires set you free because they allow you to express what you truly want without being attached to the outcome. When you hold expectations, you set yourself up for disappointment. But when you express a pure desire without that expectation, you leave room for your husband to rise and meet you and to be your hero. And when he does, it feels like a gift rather than an obligation. The fourth thing I would love to cover today, which is again an actionable way to shift this dynamic in your relationship, is the spouse fulfilling prophecy. That is the way that you see him shapes who he becomes. So there's one more secret to creating more love and connection in your marriage, and that's that what you focus on grows. If you constantly see your husband as selfish, inconsiderate, or emotionally absent, then guess what? That's what you'll get more of. But if you begin to see him as generous, loving, and capable of meeting your needs, he will rise to meet that expectation. And this is called a spouse fulfilling prophecy. So let's go back to Lisa, the example that I gave a little bit earlier. When she started seeing her husband as selfish, as a selfish, uncaring man, she stopped appreciating him because she only saw what he wasn't doing. And she overlooked all the little ways that he was showing up. But when she began looking for evidence that he was a good husband, when she noticed the way he made her coffee in the mornings, or how he worked hard to support their family so she could stay home with the kids, something shifted. She started expressing more gratitude. She softened toward him. And in return, he softened toward her. He started doing more. He started showing up differently. And the best part, it all started with how she chose to see him. Now there's vulnerability, the doorway to connection and understanding. When you feel distant from your husband, your first instinct might be to either withdraw or criticize. Maybe you feel like he should already know what you need. Maybe you're tired of always being the one who reaches out first. But here's something that will completely change the way you communicate. Vulnerability creates intimacy. Criticism, no matter how justified it feels, creates defensiveness and distance. Imagine your husband walks in the door and the first thing he hears is, "You never help me with anything. You only care about yourself. I'm exhausted and you don't even notice." Even if what you're saying is completely true, how do you think it feels when he's hearing this? Like a failure, like he can't win, right? How would you feel if he said things like this to you? Likely, he'd rather avoid the conversation altogether. And that's exactly what most husbands do. They withdraw into work or TV or their phones or video games or whatever it is, right? They withdraw. So, what does vulnerability sound like? Instead of, "You never pay attention to me," it would sound like, "I miss you." Instead of, "You don't care how I feel," it could be, "I love feeling close to you." Instead of, "You don't even see me anymore," it could be, "I melt when you look at me like that," right? These statements are softer, more open, and come from the heart rather than being critical or calling out what's missing. It's calling in what you want more of. And when a man, and again anyone in general, hears criticism, they hear failure. But when he hears vulnerability, he hears an opportunity to connect. Maria was heartbroken that her husband didn't compliment her anymore. Instead of telling him outright, she would make sarcastic comments like, "Wow, I guess I must be invisible." He would get defensive, and then a fight would break out. And one day, Maria decided to try something different. Instead of making a passive aggressive remark, she simply said, "I loved it when you told me I'd look nice this morning. It makes my whole day to hear that." Her husband looked at her, surprised, and said, "You look beautiful every day. But now that I know how much it means for you to hear that, I'll know to say it more." There was no tension, no accusations, just a moment of sweetness and connection. And that's the power of vulnerability. Dealing with a selfish husband doesn't have to mean fighting, controlling, or feeling drained. It means filling your cup first, because when you honor yourself, others will honor you too. It means speaking from desire, not demand, because husbands respond to inspiration, not pressure. It means letting go of expectations, because true love is given freely, not under obligation. It means believing in his goodness, because what you focus on grows. And it means being vulnerable, because that's the side of you that he fell in love with. When you shift in these ways, your marriage will transform. Now, if you want to take actionable step-by-step steps, it's a lot of word steps, but you know what I mean. If you want to know broken down 5 steps to reignite connection in your marriage, then I want to invite you to download my free guide. It's a simple, powerful roadmap to creating more love and intimacy in your marriage starting today. And again, it's broken down, it's actionable, it's doable, and it's powerful. So if you scroll down to the bottom of this blog post, you'll find it in blue. Again, it's called 5 Steps to Reignite Connection in Your Marriage, and it's completely free. Because you deserve a marriage that feels loving, fulfilling, and full of joy. Thank you so much for watching this video. I post new blog posts and videos every single week, so if you want to subscribe, then you will get that every week and you won't miss out. Again, thank you once again. I hope that, I look forward to next week. I hope you'll join me. Take care and goodbye.